Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Photo Mish Mash. This one being broadcast live August 18th, 2021. Oh man, we've got a great show for you today. I'm going to, of course, introduce my favorite ever co-host as usual. But first, I just want to kind of run down what we're going to talk about. We've got a Photoshop update with new sky replacements. Let's see how excited these gentlemen are. And I will let you know that for the first time ever, I switched out a sky with one of the stock ones and published it, and I'll see what you all think. It might have been that recent Moab. No, it wasn't that shot. There's a new Instagram competitor in town that you probably haven't heard of. I didn't hear of it until 2 days ago, and then the last 2 days I've been begging everybody I could find for an invite code, and 20 minutes before the show, I got one. So I want to talk about it. Cool. It's something that we have talked about for quite a while. Let's see who's ready to put their money where their mouth is, because they are going to charge a subscription rate. I'll be honest. I think it looks great, but I don't have high hopes for it because it's so hard to like dethrone the king. Yeah. We'll talk about that. I broke this tripod head. I've been actually saying $1,600. I realized today that I've been reading the price wrong. It is $1,169, and I broke it within a half an hour of it arriving at this house. Oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry.
Still, that's a big chunk of change for a ball head, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about why anybody would pay that. Let's talk why it generally has decent reviews that I think are ridiculous. We've got some year-end awards. I want to talk about those, just to chat a little bit about gear. And of course, we have an Iceland trip coming up, which these gentlemen are on with me. So that's a good segue into introducing my wonderful favorite co-host today. Let's start with Steve, who we were joking before the show. We're really excited to get him to Iceland, although I don't know if Iceland's going to help you, but you need a little color in your skin.
I know, it's so weird. For those, some of you already know this. I have just horrible lighting in my office here, and especially during certain times of the year, but I need to fix that. And this is a project that I've needed to do literally for like 4 years. And I have this little light above my Mac, and whatever, it's just not very warm in here, so I look pale, but I promise I'm not actually this pale.
We know.
Anyway, getting back to your intro, though, I downloaded a whole bunch of skies to my sky replacement because I use that quite often in Photoshop with my real estate photography, and pretty excited about that. It's about time. I wish that they just had a lot more, or I need to just take photos of more and more skies. Because I refuse to go out there and spend a bunch of money on somebody else's skies. I wish Toby would just turn them over to us. But it's a great software program, and I'm excited that it's expanding and getting better.
That's awesome. Yep, sounds good. And for those who don't know, if for some reason you're watching this show and you haven't watched it before, Steve Scurich is a professional photographer in the Cincinnati area that does primarily real estate photography, but also is a workshop instructor with McKay Photography Academy. And yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you can follow him at Scurich on Instagram, and he has been posting more frequently than in the past. That's all I'll say.
It all comes after I go someplace. I come home and get all excited about posting a couple pictures. But, you always did say if you want to convince others that you're a better photographer than you are, just post fewer images. So I've really taken that to heart, and I figure one every couple of months will prove that I'm actually a decent photographer. So there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And headed to Iceland along with us for his first time is David Carr. David, how you doing?
I am well. And I am super excited to go to Iceland. I have never been. Actually, I landed there one time years ago for a layover, of all places to have a layover on the way to Europe. And my first trip to Europe. And so I've seen it through the windows of the airport, but never actually been on the ground. So I'm super excited, of course. How could you not be excited about that? So yeah, it's going to be good.
Excited. Good. You can follow David Carr at David Carr Photo on Instagram. And if you're not following him and not watching his stories, you might not know that he's a magician.
Yeah.
You like that?
I was pretty impressed. I'm
thanks,
impressed
man.
enough that you are definitely in charge of entertaining the bus if we have any downtime.
Okay, I'll bring my little bag of tricks. I actually like used to be really into that stuff when I was like a kid, like a teenager, and I got into it to where I was like learning some pretty cool stuff. And I actually had a magic tutor that I went to who actually taught me how to do close-up magic. So it was really cool. But it was not the career for me. I just did not have the pitter patter, the talk, all that stuff. And then when David Blaine came out years ago and just kind of like did a whole different thing, it wasn't all this showbiz kind of like Vegas style magic. It was very like
less of the Copperfield.
Yeah, and I loved David Copperfield, but I loved also that David Blaine came out and kind of just did this. It was almost like you just met someone on the street and he's just like, check this out, you know. And it was so yeah. I still have a little soft space in my heart for that. So I had to. I don't know. I was practicing that one last night a lot, and I was like, I'm gonna put. This is a great way to practice on a Instagram story.
They were good. They were good. I enjoyed them. So go
Thank
follow
you.
David so you can check those out. David Carr, of course, is a professional photographer, former Grammy Award-winning musician turned professional photographer, but sadly not picked to shoot the Pirelli calendar coming out?
Yeah, right. Did you see that? Yeah.
Their loss. I mean, Bryan Adams.
I know. Yeah. Bryan Adams. I mean, I don't even know if I've even heard a Bryan Adams song. I don't, you know, no way. Actually, I've heard a bunch of his songs. No, actually, I knew he was a professional photographer and I'd kind of forgotten. And so when I saw that, I was like, that's actually really cool. Good for him, you know. And it kind of inspires me as a former musician because it's sometimes hard to take off the mantle of that identity of what I used to be and what I used to do and to like transition into this whole new career. And I've always said this, that I want my photography to stand on its own. I don't want to be, if somebody was a Third Day fan, I don't want them to be like, well, you're a great photographer because they liked my music. That it would be very easy to do that. And so I don't really tie the two together very much. I don't use the Third Day thing to promote the David Carr photography thing. And maybe I should more, but I just don't want to muddy the water and it be like, you know, it's bad enough when you post photos and all of your friends and family tell you how amazing you are. And it's really sweet and it makes you feel good, but that doesn't necessarily make you a better photographer. So I like to keep it real if I can.
You know, David, you could always have a fried chicken restaurant in your back pocket if this photography thing doesn't work out. I mean, that went really well for Kenny Rogers.
That's right. It did. Yes. You know what? You got to know when to fold them though. You got to know when to hang that stuff.
There we go. Nice.
Oh
yeah.
I'm just hanging on to these references by a bare thread.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, well, good to be back on the show. I'm excited to do this and of course to hit Iceland. That's
it's good to have you. Your statement there, I think, is very respectful. I do want to have a little discussion. Paul Anderson actually sent me somebody's Instagram this week. Maybe right now I'll just say this. Paul Anderson sent me somebody's Instagram this week. It's full of wildlife pictures that I think all of us would agree are fairly poorly edited. But this person has a massive following. And then as a result, each of these individual pictures gets a lot of likes. And basically Paul was like, look at this poorly edited picture. I think it was a bear. It's like, it's got 4,000 likes. And when you look at it as the kind of the feed, they look kind of nice and dreamy. But then when you go look at an individual shot, you're like, oh, that's clearly photoshopped with a lot of blur and things like that.
Yeah.
And that is in a way frustrating. But then separate from that, I heard something this week. Somebody was upset because we had an American diver at the Olympics and the judges were saying, hey, that was a great dive, but she's just not going to score very high because she's not going to score as high as the Chinese because they have a reputation of doing better. And the person was like, what the F, man? I mean, shouldn't each dive be judged on its own standing? And what is this about reputation having to do with score? And I thought, that does make sense to me. But then I feel like that's a very, it's a strong parallel to Instagram where, yes, this person has that picture. And there are some others that I think are not great as far as how they've been photoshopped.
Yeah.
But on a whole, when you look at their feed, they have produced a lot of gorgeous pictures. That, you know, again, if you look close, we know that they've been photoshopped, but to a wider audience, you know, not as much, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. And I'm trying to, in my Instagram, just my social media sharing. I mean, I share a lot, especially when I've been on a trip or just done something. I do tend to share a lot. And part of that is the process of learning for me. I feel like it's because to be honest, there are times, and recently, there have been times I've posted a photo and then I go back and look the next day and I'm like, oh man, that's like oversaturated. Like, how did I not see that? Or man, that's really dark. Or, you know, like I just see something and it's almost like, okay, I'm willing to like put it out there and learn from maybe the mistake or maybe figuring out my style a little bit more. So it's all just kind of part of the process for me. And I don't take it too seriously in the sense that I love it when people, I mean, who doesn't love getting the adoration and sort of like the praise about your work? But I don't really want that to be my goal for posting more than just, I know people follow me and I know they like to see me posting images. And so I'm like, well, here's one. It doesn't mean this is the most amazing photo I've ever taken. It, you know, the monkey I posted from Tanzania the other day, it's a cool shot. It's not like I'm going to win an award from it. And I don't post it thinking like everybody check this out. It's just more like, yeah, this is another one that I thought was kind of cool and a great moment. And so I'm trying to just take it more, like I said, not take it so seriously. And, you know, if there are people out there with thousands and thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers who are doing whatever they're doing, I mean, that's their prerogative. I don't care really, you know?
Yeah. But the idea that kind of building a reputation, you know, he has built a reputation of posting these type of pictures and people have gravitated towards them. And whether or not we think they're the best thing on earth, you know, and so somebody else like, you know, there might be some other amazing photographers out there that get huge recognition. And I look at some of their pictures and go, well, I got a picture that's better than that. But if you look at their work as a whole, they continually produce, you know, great images. And then I look at my work as a whole and I say, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. So that helped me kind of to feel a little less frustrated sometimes.
That's a good point. I like that.
Game.
Yeah. I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. But chat, let's welcome the chat. And also I'm noticing chat because Roger says, arg, don't get me started on Instagram. Right. Because it can be really frustrating. So let's talk for a moment about Glass. That's what it's called. Glass.photo. It is, maybe we shouldn't call it an Instagram clone or competitor. I'll show you just a second, but it is very, very similar. But here's what I think all of us have said this or nodded our heads to it, is that let's get rid of the ads. Let's get rid of sponsored posts. Let's get rid of the influencers that are on Instagram hawking this or hawking that. And let's just have a photo community that is passionate about their photography. And that's really kind of the foundation that Glass is being built from. So there is going to be a charge, $30 a year. Or I think it's $3.99 a month, is what they're asking. Would either of you be interested in paying that?
Me personally, no. I'm not a big. Those in the chat room kind of know this. I'm not a big social media guy. I used to be much more into it, but these days I'm just not, and I certainly don't want to pay for it. But, you know, social media doesn't drive my business at all. Yeah, it's a great place to show off my work and stuff, but I don't really have extra clients by posting on social media. So why am I going to put my dollars there? Even though it's a small amount, I'm not into it. I don't know, 5 years from now, maybe that's all we'll have are these, you know, more reputable platforms that people are paying to be part of. And you don't get all the news feed and garbage and everything else, because there is kind of an exodus that's going on with a lot of these social media platforms. Is like the bigger they get, the more advertising dollars they're able to rake in, and the more they bombard you with that, and the more people just want to leave. So
yeah,
maybe Glass has something here. I don't know if it's the right timing though.
Yeah. You know, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I guess if it turns out to be a really great platform, which it could, who knows? There is a lot of competition and I mean, it's very hard to take down, the beast, as you said. I think that's what you said, Toby. Whatever. It's hard to compete with. It's like trying to start up a new thing that's like a competitor to Amazon. It's just so. It seems like such a massive feat. But if it does end up being a really great platform and takes, and kind of takes on a life of its own and get some traction, well, $3.99 a month might be worth it, depending on if I feel like, as Steve's saying, if I feel like it can benefit me in my business or in just my presence, then it might be worth it, especially to not have ads. I can't stand ads, and I'm just like, I am willing to pay sometimes extra to not see them, because I figure at the end of the day, I'm probably subliminally spending more money buying the junk that's being advertised to me, to some degree, than I might be spending on the subscription. And, who knows how to measure that, but I don't know. I just get tired of it. And I understand the reason for ads, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and you kind of rewind the tape. I mean, Facebook and Instagram has basically taken down a lot of these sites where people used to post a lot.
Yeah.
What was it? There was one called Pixel something, 500 pics, and some of these still exist, but some of them you had to pay a small amount of money to get high quality subscription and stuff. And I mean, these free social media sites have. And really, it's Facebook, because they own Instagram now too. Just kind of toppled everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, now what I have up on the screen here is my iPad sharing over, so you can see the interface. I would pay for it. I mean, I already signed up. I think I have. There's a few free days of trial I can decide. But for me, if there are other photographers, if it really is a community and there are other photographers that are interested, see my work, say, hey, a workshop, let's do that, it very quickly becomes worthwhile to me. So it does speak to me, the idea of community and a community from scratch. Brian in chat said, hey, it looks a lot like Flickr gone ultra mobile. And I would agree to that to some extent.
Good point.
But Flickr feels to me, it's funny, I say dead, because I just don't think about Flickr as a place that anybody really shares their work anymore. But I guarantee Flickr has a billion more people than Glass does right now. So that maybe that's a very silly thought on my part. There certainly is the kind of the shiny new guy in the room. Let's see what it's all about.
Yeah.
But, there's a couple of things that are cool. It gives you the EXIF data for every picture right away. And there's going to be coming categories. So the discovery, you can say, show me landscape pictures, show me macro pictures. And the hope is there you find photographers within those niches that you enjoy and start to follow.
Yeah.
And we go back. Here's me. And then I tell you, when I looked at who's on here so far, it certainly is a lot of regular people. Their pictures are, some of them I would even still consider snapshots. I was kind of surprised. I thought the people that would originally be interested in Glass would be people kind of producing at a higher, almost professional level, but maybe that's not true. And it also doesn't seem to perfectly work, because how do I get to my photos right now? I think if I
you got to pay extra.
Yes. There. So I've just uploaded 2 pictures so far, and that's kind of how they're displayed. And again, you tap. And you can't like a picture. You can only comment on it. So they're going to move away from that idea of, how many likes did a picture get. And so if somebody wants to say something about your picture, then they have to say something. It's just
I actually like that, because, the whole liking thing is so funny, because I watch my kids, and I even do it, they just sit there. It's like, they just like everything, and it doesn't mean anything. Someone has 100,000 followers and they get 50,000 likes on an image, it doesn't mean 50,000 people liked the photo. It's like a reflex. So
it sure has turned into a powerful way of boosting people up or tearing people down.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
It's like The Social Dilemma, which I watched, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And the whole like button thing seemed to start out pretty innocently, as you would think it would, but it's now turned into people just either it completely makes their day or they get suicidal over it. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I will see. Again, I will be really surprised if it really takes off with any power. But I'm certainly willing to give it a shot because I like what it's talking about. I also like, they make a big deal, picture quality is much better than on Instagram. So you can I tap to zoom in? How do I get in closer? Yeah. When I do this here versus when I do it on Instagram, huge difference in quality.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially with, all our mobile devices are getting to be really high res screens, and you can see a high quality image on whether it's a mobile device or a tablet or your laptop. So that is something that I think Instagram and Facebook are going to have to they keep stepping it up a little bit, but you're going to have to start uploading some larger images there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, do either of you, speaking of Instagram, just curious, do either of you have the ability to now post from your desktop? Have you seen that in action?
Oh, I haven't done it, but I know it exists now. So I guess you can go to the Instagram website now, right? And you're able to post. Okay.
Yeah, I heard about it. It's been a few months now, but I forget about it. So I literally finish a photo on my desktop, and then I airdrop it over to my phone in a size that is sized for Instagram.
Yeah.
And I post it from my mobile device. I keep forgetting about the desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do it. Again, I don't know. I talked briefly about this, I think, maybe it was last week, or no, 2 weeks ago, and said that for me, using Planoly, which is a system very similar to Later, but is now my preferred system. I like it because it'll automatically post to other locations too. And that's certainly, with or without glass, I really don't like putting all my pictures only really on Instagram. So being able to share them on Twitter, onto the Facebook at the same place,
that's cool.
is a little bit more appealing to me.
I think for me, I like the idea still of posting from my phone, because that's where 99% of people are going to see it anyway. And I've even gotten to where when I'm editing a photo, especially if I'm kind of editing it with the intention of sharing it, maybe it's like a preliminary edit, maybe it's not like the PPA competition level edit, but here's a great photo. I will edit it and then shrink it down really small on my computer screen, kind of the size of a phone, and just see how does it look that small, because you know how it is. You'll work on an image, it looks so awesome, and then you put it on your phone. You're like, I'm not even sharing that. It doesn't even do any justice to what I just did. So I've actually done that a lot lately, where I'll shrink it way down and go like, because it looked good on my 27-inch iMac, but does it look good this way? Okay, good. Then let's send it. So
it's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share this. I haven't shared this. I've only shared this with a few select people, but there's only a few select people watching. Another frustration I have with Instagram is, this may or may not blow your mind, I haven't gained followers in over 18 months.
Really?
I've gotten new followers, but I've lost followers at a rate that offsets that by a few a week.
Yeah.
So I have not grown my Instagram account in over 18 effing months.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated about that.
I would be too. I mean, especially in your line of work, Toby, your whole business is being a social media presence. It's a YouTuber and teaching online and selling things online. That's
crazy.
It does seem a little crazy to me. Now, I will say I'm not placing all blame on Instagram for this. There's, I think, a variety of factors. I think probably the most likely is having run some of those giveaways that people could get extra entries into the giveaways following my account. And those were people that, followed for that reason, but then maybe my work doesn't really appeal to them. So every time they see me post, and I try to post frequently because that's what you're supposed to do, they're like, oh yeah, this guy, I don't care about his work. Let me unfollow him because I didn't win that contest 3 years ago. 3 years ago was, I think, the last contest we ran, maybe 4. So I think there's that as part of it. But it is a frustration, and maybe there's more of a game I should be playing with Instagram, but
I don't know though, because there is a game to play. I've watched my son do it. I'll never forget the day he surpassed me in number of followers, and I was like, dang it. But he would go and like he would say, I'm going to go network for the next hour, and I was like, what do you mean? And he really would like go and just not just post things on Instagram to get likes, but like engage with other people that doing the music and doing things. And he would really try to build that up. And I watched his numbers going up and up, but now I've been watching him go back down. I've been mine go up, then they go down. They go like, I've never cracked 4,000, which, you know, I'm grateful for the followers I have, but the majority of that came from my previous career. And I just never cracked the 4,000. And I'm so close, but I get close and then I come right back down. So again, I really am not that worried about it, but you know, it's just, but I'm with you. It's like frustrating because you're like, why wouldn't this be growing when it feels like everybody else is, you know, especially anybody that's like on a celebrity level, it's just growing and growing and growing. So
yeah. It's just interesting. I watch my brother. He's an artist with a small following, and it would be really beneficial to him if it grew much. And I just don't see it growing. And it just seems so hard for people these days to grow, except for a select few. Roger says it's a lottery. It's an Instagram algorithm. It's all a lottery. And it does feel like that to some degree. Yeah. So, but you know, if I had a gajillion followers and I felt like now I will say this, according to research I've done, my engagement is higher than average, but geez, I feel like my engagement is low. So that's depressing to me that the average engagement is down in like the 1% or so. 1% of your followers are engaging with your work. Mine is somewhere around 8%. Wow. So
gosh,
I don't know. All right, maybe we should move on to a more productive part of the show. That was the complaining part. All right. And again, you know, yes, it was me complaining a little bit, but also saying, you know, I'm hearing these frustrations, and yeah, it seems a bit broken. So
yeah, it does.
Okay. One of our favorite parts of the show is where we take some time to review the images that you have submitted to us. You being PEN members, if you're watching the show and you're not a PEN member, you should consider joining. It's just $24 for your first year. The amount of educational content you get, plus access to the best, and I mean this sincerely, the best photo community on the internet. All you have to do is go to photorec.tv/pen. Your first year is $24. It is a fantastic resource, and you get to submit images to get reviewed by us in this show. And not just reviewed, really, kind of some feedback, tips and tricks, things like that to help you become a better photographer.
We've talked about this before on the show. I won't go into all the details and the history of it, but as far as PPA and competitions go, there's a lot of folks in this community that are winning awards at the professional level. And the first time they've shared a photograph for some feedback is right here on Mish Mash.
That's right.
So that's awesome to see. It's sort of started here, and then they retweak the photo and seek some more feedback and do some more tweaks, and then end up submitting it for a competition. And they're well on their way to master photography degrees.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're into, this is a great place to kind of springboard that step.
That's right. Yep. That all said, we've got a lot of pictures today, and we still got some great news and content. And I know you're dying to know how I broke this and what am I going to do about it. Maybe you can help me decide what I'm going to do about it. So we are going to be a little faster than usual, but we're going to jump in and start right. Actually, I have to clear that out because that was a discussion for me. And Roger Hunt sent this in. He is usually our fantastic resident bird photographer, but he'd like to branch out a little bit, trying some other things. Here is the raw out of camera, and then here is his edited version.
Let's see raw again. Sorry, my screen, I just blew it up. Can I see the raw one more time? Okay.
I will say that what struck me about this first, Roger, well, I think great detail. I love the detail in the castle, but here's what struck me. It's street photography, but I can't find a person doing something interesting that I can anchor in this street. Steve or David, what do you think?
Well, for me, it's difficult because you've got these buildings that are very old and architecturally awesome. And so all I want to do is pay attention to that. And I want the whole scene to match the time period of these buildings, which obviously it doesn't. And to your point, Toby, you don't have anybody doing anything in particular. Nobody's in costume. There's not like a cool car or anything. It'd be, kind of cool if you had, I don't know, somebody in costume, and then you had some Land Rover or something parked over here. But you got butts on the right. You got a dude with a stroller on the left. You got a 2000 something compact vehicle parked out front, and it's all kind of in the foreground of this incredibly period sort of scene. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool snapshot, but I'm having trouble finding exactly what the story is, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, David, you agree. Yeah, and I think, Steve, you kind of alluded to this, but I want to stress it. You could have a cool juxtaposition. You could have a very modern car highlighted, like sitting out in front of the castle, or somebody walking by in very modern dress. But I feel like that
if you had, like a Porsche Taycan electric vehicle parked in front of this old castle with some woman in a red dress or something, or a dude in a top hat and cane or something, like that'd be really neat. Of course, it would be much more posed, I suppose.
I'm just laughing because poor Roger's just trying his hand at street photography, and we're telling him that he's got to find a Porsche, electric Porsche, and a lady in a red dress. I mean, I think it could be natural, but it has to be very clear to us that that's the story.
Let me give him some kudos, though.
Okay,
he did an excellent job, and maybe this is part of the reason he wanted to share this. He did an outstanding job of straightening out lines and using some transform to make this scene look like you're actually standing there. Nothing's distorted anymore. He did a lot of work on that, I can tell. And it was a great call to go with a black and white on that. So, definitely on the right track there. It's a little too heavy on the definition, on the texture and stuff. You can really see that on the edges where it meets the sky. And
we got some halo up there.
What happens is it becomes pixelated. Those pixels that might be 1, maybe 2 pixels thick of a black line at an edge become 4 or 5 pixels wide, and it just starts to look unnatural. But that could have been an artistic choice and what he was kind of going for. I think the clouds are just a little crunchy. I'd like to see those softened up, but the lines, the transform was done extremely well. Black and white was definitely the right call. Maybe throw some vignette on here. White, of course, right?
All right. Yeah. And we should, this is outside Windsor Castle. Very, very, the Queen's vacation home, I think. And so it's a very iconic location. But yeah, I think we want a little bit more story. All right, Roger, thanks for sending that in. We're going to move on to a bird that's not from Roger. This is from Pam Case. Let's see how we're doing on size. All right, we do have Pam. We've moved past sending in 2 small pictures. That's great.
What are the dimensions of this?
It is 5,500 by 3,900.
Okay, I was wondering if maybe it was cropped in tight, but that's still a good size file.
Yeah, that is.
I love the name. We're getting some clues from the name here, Pam. This is called Flip and Crop Edit 2. So I think you've done a flip. I think you've done a crop. What do we think about a little more crop that gives us a little bit less on the left? Oh, I'm trying to undo my. There we go.
Yeah, it's good. I would challenge Pam. I don't know how comfortable you are in Photoshop, but I would remove that big bush thing that's in the lower right.
Yes.
And some of the hot spots in the background, and maybe even darken that background so the bird just really pops off the screen. And I think it's a great shot.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it actually is a great shot. The bird is awesome. If you can deal with the distractions of the background, and it's almost like the sky's the limit. You can go in and you can blur out the background big time. You can add like a Gaussian blur, but that requires layers and pulling the background away from the foreground. And I mean, there's some blending you have to do, but but there's a way to really make it stand out as like just the bird is like the thing you see, because there's so much character in this, the beak and the feathers on the head and everything. It's, you know, so definitely something to work with there.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Steve.
The yellow in that bush is really throwing things off because it's competing with the beak and the eye area, which is really where your eye wants to be. So, you know, I would just remove it all together, but at least get rid of the yellow that's in the bush. And that's just a simple, you know, content aware fill.
Yeah. So just some quick changes to kind of give you an idea. I think David Carr, the darkening of the background is great because just that little bit and softening really makes the bird stand out a little bit more, and you could make this beak pop a little bit more too, Pam. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Jody's got Stormy Lighthouse. And Steve, I know you're not on Facebook anymore, so she put this in Pen Group, and you might recognize this location.
Of course.
And you might recognize that it's been flipped.
Yeah, it has been flipped, hasn't it? Because this is the scene that you get when, in fact, we were probably with Jody when she took the shot.
Yes, we were.
That's right. Anyway, yeah, I was like, oh, she must have shot it from the other side, but this is exactly what you do see from that right side that we always go to. This is up in Maine, and remind me of the name of this lighthouse. Was this Portland?
This is, it's outside of Portland. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. It's an awesome place. It's an awesome picture. I would not flip it. I know people are probably surprised to hear that, but this is definitely one of those cases where it's an iconic place. A lot of people know it, and they're going to call you out on that. So best to just leave it the way it was. I'm assuming that it was flipped.
Yeah, it was. I think it seems like somebody had suggested that, but I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know the lighthouse. I haven't been, but I don't know. I've seen it both ways, and it's kind of neither here nor there for me as someone who hasn't seen it. Like, I feel like it's probably just as good the normal way as it is flipped, but who knows?
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead and flip it around real quick. I actually think it would look better flip back to its original place, because then you've got the land is starting on that right side as your eye naturally travels left to right.
You mean on the left side?
On the left side, sorry. Yeah.
You know, so this is, she posted both versions right next to each other in Pen, and I was slightly offended that she had flipped it. I mean, I was like, ooh, I know that location. I could instantly tell that's flipped. But then as I was looking at the two of them, I liked how that lighthouse came first as you came across.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have a very strong opinion about it. I think it works both ways. And to clarify, this is the Portland Head Lighthouse. Yes, Nancy just said that, and I Googled it real quick. I couldn't remember the name. Thank you, Nancy.
I don't know if you heard me. I threw that out there. Isn't this like the Portland Head or something?
Yeah.
I thought I was wrong, but
yeah.
You know, I'm wondering if it should be cropped, like bring the bottom up a little bit and lose a little more of the water. I don't know, maybe a little more of a pano look.
So we've got a digital matte.
Oh, I see. So
we don't have to get in that discussion.
Well, I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Steve, you're missing so much good stuff in Pen. There was a good digital matte thread the other day.
I like that. I just think there was almost a little too much water, because the sky is so interesting, and I don't know what she's done to the sky to make it kind of mysterious like that, but it just I didn't want.
What happens if you show all the sky that she gave us and crop the water out altogether? Just bring that.
I was kind of wondering that too.
To the bottom, just one less bright layer to look at, or really draw your eye to the sky. I like that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I don't know. That's awful tight for me.
It is. It is. You know, another thing I would be trying, like, this is just a suggestion, but the water. So a lot of times with water, we like to blur it a little bit. We don't like to see it just like a freeze frame. And there are some pretty cool blurring tools in Photoshop where you can give this the water can just be, it can give you that effect of being like a long exposure. Now, I realize there's an ethical discussion about how much you should do that, but I've done it to some images and been very happy with it. Just where I was like, I was hand holding, or we literally couldn't do a long exposure. I want to see what it would look like if I had done one. And I mean, however far you want to take it in Photoshop is your prerogative. So
that's interesting. Yeah. The only other thing that I'll say is, as we get in just a little bit tighter, I start to feel like I'm seeing artifacts in the clouds over here.
Well,
I'd love to.
I was gonna say again, this is kind of plays into what I was talking about with Roger's picture. There's a little too much with the sharpening and detailing and stuff. Look at the rock where it meets the sky on the far right side. Look at the edges of the buildings where they meet the sky at the roof line.
That's good. That's right.
Those little white lines that you see there are indicators that you've just gone a little too far with the sharpening and need to back it off. Or I don't know if there was a filter that was either painted on or graduated or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful with that stuff.
Good suggestions. Back off a little bit. Try out a little softer water, and stick with this flip. Okay, thanks, Jody. Kevin Walker's got classic racer, and we're zoomed in. Let me zoom out here. Nice panning shot. I always have the benefit of kind of going through these earlier, so sometimes things pop into my mind right away. The only thing that bothers me is this break back here, and we just have this, I don't know, a bush coming through the barrier or something that is right above his head. So Kevin, I would use Photoshop to just make that a continuous kind of thing up there. But otherwise, this looks great.
Yeah. Car itself, I mean, that's killer. That's a hard shot to get. It looks pretty clean. I mean, you kind of notice on the Castrol and the Champion stickers, it's totally freeze framed right there, but taking the picture as a whole, it's got a lot of impact. Nice. I love the color. I like the way he processed it.
Yeah. Well done. I mean, I agree with you, Toby. I mean, I think because it's such a great shot, like, it's worth playing around and seeing if you can just kind of clean up the background to where it's, where you just don't even think about it, And I realize, when you're shooting like this, you can't help it that the background was the way it was. So sometimes you just have to accept it. And sometimes you can just, you can do some work and really bring it home. So I don't know.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks. Brent has Desert Monsoon. Come on, Lightroom. You can do it. Zoom out. Oh my gosh. There it is. I'm on this iMac. I'm seeing some pretty rough Lightroom performance, but on my little Silicon Mac, I have been very happy still.
Good.
Okay. I'm going to start again first because I think there might be some things I could see with a higher quality that I'm looking at than you. What a scene. Gorgeous scene. We kind of have this like a little bit too much glow added to these guys here, and almost that Orton effect where they've been blurred just a little bit to give it the dreamy look. That's really, other than that, I think I dial that back a little. Looks a little like a kind of maybe some editing around here. And then I saw one dust spot plaguing you right there in the center. It definitely gets a little grainy back there. But I think at the normal view, that doesn't bother me too much.
What was the ISO was only 200?
It was. I think some of this grain back here is coming from a little bit of processing and pushing.
We can see the edits.
That's true. We can. Let's see. Is there a graduated filter on the sky? Nope. Is there? I feel like the sky has been worked differently in this. Oh, but this is a JPEG. Why am I seeing edits? That's weird. Oh, no. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, I'm confused why I'm seeing edits on a JPEG that he was given to us. I definitely didn't do more. Let me hit reset for a sec. Oh, did I bring these in with auto edit turned on? That'll be embarrassing.
I'm wondering if you might have, because it feels like I think one of the other shots was like that.
I might have. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't think that Well,
So here I am railing Roger, and you had auto edits are turned on. Poor guy.
oh, and not only auto edits, but I'm experimenting with a texture and a clarity. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh,
All those sliders. Poor
Hold,
Roger.
hold on. I mean, yeah, it's better. So,
Oh, it's
Oh my
all right.
gosh, I'm
That's
getting
hilarious.
all over
amateur. What is this amateur hour? Okay. Seriously, my deepest apologies to those of you. Obviously, take what we said about that part of stuff out.
I
of
almost
the
said something
equation.
because I saw a JPEG earlier that had sliders moved, and I was like, "Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't understand
I'm
something."
usually very good about that, but apparently this time I screwed it up.
Hey, that's my kind of thing right there. That's something I would do. So,
And that, folks, is why you should never use presets.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'll tell you, I like them. I like them still. Okay.
I know you do.
Not presets, but just the auto edit to get you started.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
They got pros and cons. I'll say that. I'm very clear to talk about the cons when I teach. All right. So, better back there. Still got the dust spot. That wasn't my preset. My preset.
There's still some hazing around the cactus there.
Yeah.
That bright lower section is, to me, that's where kind of the story is, much more so than the mountain is so shrouded in clouds, and it's kind of cool, but having that big bright section in the lower right really steals that story away. So to me, that's where the story of this particular photograph is. And so I would probably want to go in tight on that section, maybe make it a vertical, but you're going to have to be really careful about the edits that were being done around those cactus where you can see the hazing. And definitely there's a glow even with those edits taken out. There's still a real glow around there, and I don't know. There's a softness just to the left of that on the ground. That I can't figure out if that was like a healing area that didn't heal right. I mean, what is going on there? Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, there's some funniness. There does look a little strange. I want to be clear though, Steve. So if you go vertical, are you talking about getting rid of the mountain, basically?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Oh, this side of the mountain is so cool though.
Well, even where you have it there might actually be a cool crop.
I just think that when you're taking a shot like this, you almost have to make a decision. Okay, or you have to really position that bright cactus as a center sort of foreground element leading up into the mountain. It's just kind of tucked away to the lower right, off to the side. And I mean, that's better, but I can't get over those blotchy spots. I don't know what happened there, but once you notice it, it's hard to look away.
Yeah, chat room's trying to guess focus stacked or maybe bracketed shot blended poorly. Definitely something else going on, Brent, that needs to be cleaned up. Overall, I think there's a lot to work with in the scene though, and going back and reworking it would be a great idea. Cool. All right, we got to move on. Sean's got Rainbow Falls.
Let's adjust the sliders back.
Thank you. So big bright spot in the sky, right?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, how do you eliminate that, because it's competing with the falls, and the falls are so cool.
Yeah,
I mean, you could split the difference. Do a real tall kind of pano crop, or actually you could come up from the bottom, because there's a point at which I feel like that there's nothing extra going on there, and then you could Photoshop in some bits of trees to fill that sky hole.
Yeah, that would really draw your attention to the water. I think the shutter speed that he chose was good. What was it?
Half second.
Yeah, that's a lot of times people, especially if you put a filter on or something, people will just go way too long on this because of the effect and the wow factor. But on a lot of waterfalls, the amount of water that's coming off, half a second gives you a really cool scene.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. Fill that spot in, and you've got something great there, Sean. I think Roger stepped away for a second. Roger, the issue was some of our comments on your image were my fault on an auto preset that was imported, that was applied when I imported those pictures. So sorry about that. All right. We've got Lynn with 2 white pelicans holding their wingtips.
Wow.
Great.
Very
time.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the detail is great. I love the colors on them. Let's hit reset again. There you go.
I mean,
I think you have so much negative space in the sky behind them. And I really love that there's clouds back there, but it's such a little part of the overall picture. I'd maybe consider just clipping those out and just leave it as all negative space, so it doesn't detract from their relationship.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, very nice.
But I like the processing. I mean, it looks very authentic, very natural. It may be a little blurry. Hard to tell.
Well, when I hit reset, it's certainly taking that texture and clarity back off. I feel like there's room for a little bit more crispness of those guys. A little bit more.
And I'd probably paint it on just to be safe, and then soften that background, especially if you clip the clouds out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's a really great shot. This is one of those examples of you caught a really great moment, and you caught it really well. So it's everything else we're telling you to do is just like you've already got an awesome image. It's like, bringing it to the finish line. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. For people curious, I think this is great. Shutter speed is 1/1600th of a second. Nice. And with those pelicans sharp right out to the wingtips.
Yeah. Yeah. You really, you got to do that. We talk to people about that on tour all the time. Wow. Holy cow. Speaking of catching something with a fast shutter.
Yep. This shutter speed was also 1/1600th of a second. Coming in for a landing, it's titled.
I love the water drops.
Yeah.
That you can see on there, along with the freeze frame of the bee coming in.
Yeah.
I would probably just use the spot healing in Photoshop. See the white that is in the flower. More just to the left of there you go.
Yeah.
Those are just it's not that big of a deal, and I know they're just a little glare of water drops and stuff, but it's just one of those things as a viewer that once you take notice of one of them, you notice a couple of them, and then before you know it, you're just seeing a bunch of white dots. And so just clip those out. But who is this, Mike? It's an awesome shot, Mike.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm kind of curious if you brighten up the bee just a little bit, like paint on a little more exposure, just so, because the flower is so bright, and which is great. I don't know. I just feel like I would probably do that just so that you don't want to miss that part of the story. Well, you're not going to miss it, but it's just, I want to be able to look at kind of both things equally. And so, but it's such a great moment
to capture that background where the bee is too. I mean, the black background would look cool too, but it really stands out against sort of yellowy green background back there. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Great job, Mike.
Very nice. Very nice, Mike. Chris has got a little probably short-eared owl, or a little burrowing owl maybe, sitting on this fence post. I looked at this earlier. So the thing I wanted to do to it was to go to vertical. So I feel like at a point, it starts to get lost in this space, and the fence posts are cool. The barbed wire is cool, but he's a pretty small little owl or bird. And so, and again, for anybody watching the show hasn't watched in a while or forgotten, we're generally not recommending to go shoot wide all the time and then crop however you want. Do crop to tell the story best, but start to think about doing this in the field, reframing these scenes. I just have to make that disclaimer. So
I like this crop, and you've left an odd number of posts in the picture, which we talked about before on the show. That tends to be more visually pleasing for whatever reason. And I think the silhouette, it's good. With the fact that the bird has its head kind of turned around, it does make it really hard to tell exactly what that is with a silhouette. That's the thing with silhouettes, is it's almost like you need the bird or the person or whatever in a position where you can really see some of the detail and make out exactly what it is. But obviously it's a bird on a post. But you are kind of left really questioning what type of bird that is, or owl.
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, but even knowing these birds, I'm not quite sure if it's looking back over its shoulder or if its head is tucked in. So then I'm left wondering in a way that isn't very interesting, I think.
If you brighten it up, it's probably going to really fall apart in the dark areas, especially with a JPEG. But yeah, you start to see some of it, but it really comes out in the posts, and that's not what we want the story to be about.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Teresa's got Red Valley.
Go ahead and hit reset, Toby.
Oh yeah, thanks. Let me just do this real quick so you don't have to remind me to do that each time. Reset.
Your auto import is quite crunchy.
Yeah, it's just something I started experimenting with 2 nights ago. It is. See, here's the thing. With this new profile I'm using, it's not. But it certainly is on these JPEGs. So I do want to put that disclaimer out there. I am not making my pictures this crunchy. Thank you, Steve.
No, I knew you weren't. I've seen your pictures, and they always look great. But I was like, wow, you must have to back that off all the time. But forgetting the JPEGs coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, this is called Red Valley, but and we haven't done this yet. What do you think?
I like the color personally. I don't know. I was going to say it just really flattened it when you went black and white.
Yeah.
I think the color's nice. I mean, I almost feel like you could crop the top down. I mean, I don't know that the sky's doing much for me because it's just so far away, and there's really cool color there and cool lines in the color with the roads and just the little hills and everything. So it's just almost like it's just like a piece of like an art piece, almost like the ground is kind of abstract. Everything's just sort of, all over the place. And, I don't know. I think I like cropping some of the sky out maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think one of the reasons I went black and white is I felt like the colors back there got a little muddy and less interesting. But cropping, I think, is better because the red is dramatic, and I like keeping that.
If you introduce a little dehazing, what does that do to the overall image?
I was curious about that too.
Yeah, I mean it's
I could do a little dehazing.
Yeah, it probably does do it like that.
But also kind of warm it up back there a little bit to balance that out away. Too much exposure. Yeah. I think that's a good suggestion. Nice. I'm curious where this is. Teresa said that she's in Nebraska right now. So is this in Nebraska, Teresa? I'm curious. Cool. All right. Sue Stevens has got a flying dress.
It's a large dress.
Oh, that's a backdrop over there. I'm like, wait, what is going on here?
I know. It's a well done backdrop. It's so well done. Am I crazy if I just want to kind of come in and we're losing part of that train of the dress, but it wasn't all there to begin with.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want the edges of the backdrop to show. It kind of eliminates the whole need for the backdrop.
Yeah. And then a little brighter.
I can't deal with that straightening you just did. Look at those stairs, man. What the?
Well, it's fabric. It's hanging. All right. So
okay. Let's teach somebody. Go to transform.
Apple T.
Yep. Got it. Draw a horizontal line on the stairs, vertical line on the Oscars, and maybe another horizontal line at the bottom of the stairs or the red carpet where it meets the wood floor.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's hard. I can't see it back there. I have to guess. Ooh.
I might need to recrop now.
Yeah, might.
It didn't distort the model too much, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Things are kind of straight. That first step is a little wonky, but hey, you know, it kind of reminds me of the scene in The Big Lebowski.
I just watched that the other night. So
I love it. One of my favorite films.
So here's what I'll say about this photo. Like, I love the fact that the dress is doing this cool thing. She's got a great sort of look, you know, kind of looking down at it as it's spinning. The light, you know, is what it is, but it's not. It looks like, you know, this was just shot kind of under whatever light was there, which sometimes that's all you have. But it's like all the elements of a really cool dramatic photo, but it gets a little lost in this kind of wash of it. I don't know if that's fluorescent lighting or what. So, and the backdrop is cool, but it gets busy because, you know, I want to see this person spinning in this dress and the dress flowing and almost like not see much else, you know? And so that's all like that, you know, if this was just happening and you were there, then you take the best shot you can. And so then you just take what you have and you make it the best it can be, which is what we're doing. But I'm just saying, you know, I think there's a way that this type of shot can be executed and have a real wow factor. And so just something to think about if it's something you want to pursue more of these types of shots in the future. And if you're able to, you know, do this in a place where you've got different light, maybe that's worth considering.
Out of curiosity, Toby, can you just hit black and white real quick on this? See, I mean, it's kind of weird because it makes the backdrop look a little bit more hokey or more like artificial.
Yeah.
But what was really kind of bothering me about the image overall was all the different colors. You had green trees, a blue sky, red staircase. You got the light wood that's competing with the yellow in the dress. And, you know, I do like it better as a black and white, and then I play around with it from there.
Yeah.
And if not, then I would go into Photoshop and I would completely change the color of the hardwood floor to be something dark, almost black, and make that dress yellow, just really pop and tone down the blues in the background. But I think black and white kind of gives you a better starting point because those colors, the more I looked at it, the colors were just, it really cluttered the story to me. Each color has its own sort of feeling that comes out of it. And you had some really dramatic primary colors that were popping out at you. And I just didn't know where to go with the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm with you.
Good. Thanks, Sue. All right, Robert, forehand.
Nice.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is Mount Rainier, maybe? I don't know. This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. I'd consider maybe a little bit of like a graduate filter on the top half with a little bit of dehazing. Just it's kind of hazy up there, which looks kind of good, but I would tone it down just a little bit. I like that he left some of that lighter part of the mountain. So you obviously follow the road, but then your eyes can't help but get drawn up to the brighter part at the top of the mountain too. So it's a nice journey, visual journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. I could be a teeny bit picky and say that this edge is just south of the corner. So I feel like you could come in and make that a very deliberate right out there, the corner.
Yeah, that looks good. There are times, and I especially do this in my architecture or my real estate photography, where I leave things, I have it come out to the corner, but I don't go right to the corner every time. You know, I kind of play around with that. This you do have some options here, but I think I like what Toby did there just a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think overall it could have a tiny bit more dehaze. And I mean, just a little bit. There's a little bit of a dreamy quality. I don't want to get rid of it completely, but I want just a little bit more contrast that I think will come through some dehaze or maybe contrast too.
Yeah, and you could go through with a darkening brush and just paint like the grassy areas, darken those down a little bit because the trees are super dark, but that'll just make the road kind of pop out even more.
Yeah.
Look really cool.
Oh, I think that's a good suggestion. Not that much, but somewhere in that neighborhood, kind of that idea there. Yeah, cool. All right, we got a last one. Debs, the old mill.
Is this in the Smokies?
It looks like, I think it might be.
I don't know. I've never.
Well, who
been.
knows? Well, who knows? You know, it could be.
Yeah. Okay, black and white, definitely the way to go. Good job. And then I come in pretty tight on the waterfall. I would get rid of those, the greenery that's down at the bottom because it's cut off. It doesn't need to be there. It's not part of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's feeling a little awkward to me. I agree with kind of getting that greenery out of there, but I don't know.
I might need to. I'm not sure what the crop is here. That's better, you know, because you see the circle continue a little bit. It's not just...
It's tough because you don't want to lose. You don't want to get too far, like crop the right side in too much, and then have the water fall too far to the right. But the stacks of, you know, lumber on the left, you know, this handcrafted lumber, whatever you call it, logs. I mean, that's such a cool feature. I mean, I almost like this. I almost would consider not even seeing the waterfall because you could create like a square image using the left half of this and have just a lot of cool textures. But I understand it is a waterfall. That's probably the reason why it had appeal. But you could see that almost like hanging up as a.
That's pretty cool, man. You know, and then you go more extreme with the contrast and because you do still have water movement.
Yeah, you do.
Which is lost when you see the bigger waterfall, which I say bigger kind of with air quotations because it's not that dramatic.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, these little areas really draw your attention. That's
like you could see that hanging up in the barn, like in the farmhouse or something. Is just this like finding something abstract in the everyday, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a great suggestion. I think it's a great lesson in, you know, how many stories you can find within one single shot. You don't need to try to get everything that catches your eye there.
Yeah. I miss that, Carr. That's a great eye. I like it.
Oh, thank you. Will.
Yep. All right. Hey, we just got through a lot of images. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Sorry again about that crazy preset that just I don't know how I got applied on there. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
It happens.
Let's talk quickly about this. I don't think people care too much. I asked for a loan of new stuff from B&H. Headed to Iceland. Thought it's always a good testing ground where you're going to be using stuff day in, day out. Trying to try a geared ball head or a geared tripod head for a while, because here's what happens with my typical ball heads is when I'm being very precise, you know, you undo the ball, you adjust it, crank it down, and there's always a little bit of movement for me. I don't know. Does that happen to you, Steve, with your really nice, really right stuff ball head?
So the quick answer is no, and it's kind of interesting you bring this up because I bought a new tripod, as you know, but I also bought a new tripod head to go with it. It's all KLM or FLM. Sorry,
FLM. Yep.
I keep doing that. I get emails from KLM, and I'm like, yeah, cool. The tripod company sending me emails, and it's KLM Airlines. Anyway, I bought an FLM ball head because it saved me $100 over going with the really right stuff. Smaller version of what I have. And I was a little worried about that. And it cranks down pretty tight, but I have to twist it more than my Really Right stuff. That one is just these micro adjustments, but then once it's locked down, like it's super solid.
Mm-hmm. I'd say this. I mean, this is a fairly cheap ball head. It's a Leo photo. When you crank it down, it is tight, but that last bit of crank as it tightens, and this happens on those Me photos too, there is the smallest additional movement usually.
Really?
Like, as you crank, it leans forward. Or whatever, it goes in a direction. And I'm talking a very small amount, but enough that I notice. And sometimes I have to readjust for that, or sometimes I'm paying attention and I'm like, I have to, account for that as I'm doing it.
I know what you're saying, especially if you have like a long lens on a tripod, and typically you want to mount that on the foot of the long lens, but I've got a Really Right stuff ball head and I love it, but I feel like I know what you're saying. There's times when you're like, you're real precise, then you lock it down. And then there's like just that little bit of give, which can sometimes make a big difference in the way if you're really trying to set that scene up and crop it exactly where you want it. So, yeah. So this is a geared one. Okay.
It's a geared one. And this one, so a geared head, basically you turn a knob and it moves a small amount for you. You've got a horizontal knob and a vertical knob, or front, back, left, right is one way to think of it. But this one has an extra knob for each of those so that you can do a quick release, basically. So you lefty loosey, you loosen that, and now I can move it back and forth very easily, get it roughly where I want, tighten it, and now use this to fine adjust it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. All of that is pretty impressive. I wonder if it's a little bit slower than I want still, even with these kind of quicker release. But I was willing to try it out. So, but on top, it came with a flip lock quick release plate for Arca Swiss. This is an Arca Swiss head. It's an Arca Swiss. First thing I noticed was the lever is plastic. I was like, really? Plastic?
Wow, $1,100 ball head?
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Gosh.
The next thing that was surprising to me here, just no offense, gentlemen, I'm just going to get bigger for a minute. Then was that I couldn't pull it out with nothing in it. It wasn't coming, and the directions weren't clear. But then this little silver thing you can barely see here is some kind of button that helps it to pull out. And I still had to use more force than I thought I would. So I got it pulled out. And then I learned that behind there, you see this tiny little silver bar?
Yeah.
It has grips in it. There is a further mechanism that as you pull it out, you have to get your finger onto that and pull towards you to completely quick release this. So the pro, your camera is not coming out of here unless you really mean for it to. The con is that people are saying with gloves on, it sucks. With bigger fingers, it sucks. Okay. And then it was too small, and I found there's a wheel in here that adjusted it. I put an L bracket in here with no camera. I closed it. And as I closed it, there was never a moment in my brain where I said, I'm pushing harder than I should. So I closed it. And then I went to open it. It would not open. I yanked on this little button. I yanked here. And finally, with a lot of power, way more than I thought, it opened up. But it didn't change this little piece of SOS. And my L bracket was still firmly stuck in here.
Wow. It like welded it in for you. That's nice.
Yep. So for the next half hour, I jammed various small screwdrivers and things in here. I would take a break to cuss for a few minutes, and then I would attack it again.
Oh, that'd be ticked.
I was frustrated. I put it down, and Chris is like, just take a break. And I was like, what? What has happened? I finally went and got a hammer and hammered the L bracket out the side.
Wow.
And now there is no movement to this when I open and close this. So it's broken.
Yeah.
That's absurd. It's absurd for a $50 ball head, it's totally absurd for an $1,100 ball head.
That's kind of how I was feeling. And you go to did I have this B&H page open? Yes. This tripod has 12 reviews, average of 4.5 stars. But if you read the reviews, even the people that give it good reviews say this is a terrible piece on top. You shouldn't be giving it 5 stars and say, when you pay this much, that yes, it's a great thing, but the thing on top is terrible. This is an integral part of this.
Yeah, that's everything, man. Like that, like being able to release your camera from it. I mean, that's wow. I just cannot believe it's $1,100.
I told Toby if he brought that to Iceland, his nickname was going to be Knob the whole time we were there. Look at how many freaking knobs are on that thing. Tell me you're not going to. I can use my ball head with my eyes closed in the dark.
Good point. Yeah, it's not coming to Iceland. Obviously, it's broken. Kevin's asking if it's a lifetime warranty. I don't know what kind of warranty they offer. It's on loan to me. I got to send it back to B&H and be like, I'm sorry, I broke this
extended
shitty
warranty.
ball head. I don't know. So I'll be bringing my little, RSS knockoff Leo photo ball
There you
head
go.
on top of this. So, and I'll just, the lack of knobs is a good, but I'm going to experiment a little bit more with geared heads, or maybe just a nicer ball head to see. But we'll see.
The 30.
Yeah.
You talk about the Really Right Stuff. So can I talk about Really Right Stuff for just a second? Because I'm super excited about something that I just invested in, this whole system for my cameras and everything. I didn't even know this existed until I was on my trip to South Dakota, and actually Jeff Duchowski, who was one of our instructors on the trip, showed me this system he had called, it's basically Quick Disconnect. I didn't know what that was. So I went and bought everything for it. So basically, I mean, you guys probably already know about this, but I didn't know about it. So this little guy, I bought a Really Right Stuff plate for my Z6. I already had a Really Right Stuff L bracket that I put on my Z7, which will be my more landscape camera. I didn't want to have 2 L brackets. I just wanted to have one. So what I did was I purchased this plate that goes on the bottom, and it comes with.
Let's make you big for a sec.
Okay.
How do I do that? There.
There you go. In the bottom of this Really Right Stuff plate is this little port right here. Oh. This plugs into it. My strap is super secure. I actually had to rig this Black Rapid strap to do this, but I'm shooting like this. I've got it around my shoulder. I'm good to go. I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to switch it to, I have a long lens. So I bought a Really Right Stuff foot for the long lens. So now I can just unplug it there, plug it in here.
Who's making the quick release pit?
This little guy right here. So Really Right Stuff makes these, but they're out of stock. So this is Kirk brand, they make great stuff as well.
Okay, so that explains. I have the L bracket that I had to hammer out of it is a Kirk L bracket. It's got this funny little port that I was like, I wonder what that's for.
I'm looking at my Really Right Stuff plate on my house. I didn't even know that was there until you just pointed that out.
I love it. So I actually went and bought this. I actually bought this. No, I'm sorry. This is not Kirk. This is Magpul, I think. This bracket here, I had to go to a gun shop to get it because the gun guys use these for their rifles and stuff. But I love it because I just, I'm always futzing around with straps and putting this one on here. I don't always like to have a strap on my camera or the same strap. So I can just go like this, and just plug it in. I love it. So I put my 2 long lenses, both cameras, everything's got it. I can just switch one to the next easily. So everything's Arca-Swiss, so I can always mount it into my tripod without having to put a little thing on the bottom of my, factory lens foot. It's like, everything is.
That's awesome. So I've used Peak Designs for years, and here's the side of my camera. It's hard to see, but there's a space. And
Yeah.
the problem with this, seems minor, but this falls down in here. I disconnect that a lot of times when I put it on my tripod.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Flopping around. And then I can't open the door. It always gets stuck.
Yep.
And so I always have to make sure that this thing, and it's really tricky to like get it out, and then I can open the door and get my memory cards out and stuff.
Right. I was having
all of this and just have something that clips right on the bottom on and off is awesome.
It's super secure. And then I was able to take off. So on my Z6 and Z7, I had the Peak Design little, connector, and I had, the little triangle connector that's normally right here.
Right.
The one design flaw in the Z is when you would open the memory card door, it would always get hung up on that little triangle, on that little clip. And so I just took those off. I was like, I don't even want the triangle clips. I don't want any of that dangly stuff. I just want to be able to plug this thing in and go. So I love it, man. I mean, I had to invest several $100s because Really Right Stuff is not cheap. And the Kirk makes all the stuff as well. It's a little cheaper, but I already had a Really Right Stuff L bracket, and I kind of just wanted everything to be in that system. But I think it's gonna be awesome. So
that's cool.
I like that a lot. As another, I'm a person, I hate straps. You see, all of us, don't have straps on our cameras or have the, except for the ability to add a strap, quickly. And that's because I think we help clients with straps, and they are always in the way. I'd say they're always in the way.
Always.
And they're just a pain. This is really interesting. I'm going to wait to see if your camera drops and falls over a giant waterfall in Iceland before I buy into the system. But it does look good. Kirk does make this Magpul. It is on B&H for $70. That's really quite appealing.
Yeah, well, definitely. So I wanted to get new lens feet for the long lenses anyway, because on the last tour, I loaned somebody, there was like a Peak Design little square Arca Swiss adapter that you would screw onto the bottom of your lens foot. So then you could mount it into your tripod. And I let somebody borrow it, and I never got it back. And I was like, well, I gotta buy a new one. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna buy, a lens foot that's already Arca Swiss and better than the one that came on the lens to begin with, and has the quick disconnect. And I mean, it was just like a no-brainer. I was like, now everything is, I'm never messing around with like this little tassel and that thing. And so anyway,
does make me feel like there's a higher being in the universe, though, because last night I was like, I wonder what this is for. And then today, David Carr, you teach me. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I've never noticed it. And now, like you too, I've got a bunch of different plates for different lenses and stuff, and it's Really Right Stuff, and they've all got that. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it got a little confusing, and I ordered the wrong thing at first. There's two sizes of that quick disconnect. One's called the quick disconnect, and one's called like the SS2 or something, and it's smaller. But so you got to know what you're buying. But look for QD, quick disconnect. It's like a thing that's known in, like, again, I know the rifle people, like gun people, they know about it.
Yeah, Carl in chat says he owns a couple of AR-15s, so he knew what it was. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's for Really Right Stuff. That's a huge part of their business. In fact, I think that's where they got started.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I started going to their website. And so.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
makes sense. Okay, good. Hey, let's move from this discussion. I think here's what I'll say about Photoshop. It's got an update. It now has 5,000 skies available to it. So, Steve, you should
I don't know where those are, because I went to their download page and I downloaded all the skies that they're giving us, and they weren't there. I got like maybe 8 sunsets and 8 new blue skies and 8 stormy skies and 8 nighttime skies. I don't know where the 5,000 are coming from. They must have a little database somewhere that I just don't know about.
You know what? Actually, I might be saying this wrong. This is the show where Toby's just wrong a bunch. It might be that you can import up to 5,000 skies.
Okay.
I think that's
okay. Well, that would make sense.
So,
but
they're like, Steve, you're on your own still. Whatever. You got to find your own skies, but you can bring them in if you find them.
Yeah, and you still have. It's still, gosh, Photoshop. They can just never do something simple. Like the process of getting the skies into your Photoshop library is such a pain in the neck. You have to first go into sky replacement, and which automatically drops whatever sky they have selected. It's probably the one you used, drops that in there. And then you go to the little wheel of that submenu and you click on Get More Skies, which takes you to their website. And then you click Download, which takes it to, in my case, the download file on my Mac. And then I have to go back into the sky screen, click on the wheel again, import skies, and it finds it in the downloads, and then you click on that and it brings it in, and then you have to file it somewhere within your menu system. It's like, come on, you guys. I had to do that for each section. So I downloaded some blue skies. I had to do all those steps. I downloaded some sunset skies. I had to go through all those steps, et cetera, et cetera. It took me probably 15 minutes to get all of them in order and where I wanted them and stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, haven't we gotten beyond this complexity on bringing stuff in?
But I think you can, if you create a folder where all of these skies are now, if you have them organized, then you can bring them in as a group now.
They came in as a group. No,
they did. Okay.
It's just all the extra steps. There's about 6 steps, and you're going back and forth to do it. It's just, and everything is cloud based. So why don't they just stick it in your Sky library?
Yeah,
it's just. But anyway, they're there now. It's nice to have more of them. I'm bagging on Photoshop here for a second, but I do love the sky replacement there. It is now my go-to sky replacement over the Skylum. What was the other?
Luminar AI.
Luminar. Yeah. I just use Photoshop now. It's just so much simpler, and it just looks better. It looks more legit.
Can I back up for just a second to point out that you suggested we should be able to keep our skies in the cloud?
Even when you just said that right there, I'm like, what are you doing? Oh.
I love it.
Should be able to keep our
That's some meta. That's some meta right there. So I just real quick show, I did use sky replacement on the cover shot for this thumbnail. This was a flat gray sky, and there was one of theirs. I was going to go find one of mine, but then one of theirs was right there with just this little bit. And I thought, hey, I'm not posting this out on Instagram. I'm going to do it. So yeah, as you said, there are some rough patches to it, but in general, it's pretty impressive. And pen members, if you are interested in Astro, that video I put out a couple of weeks ago, using sky replacement to be able to blend a blue hour shot with your dark night sky, it works really well, and I'm impressed with how easy it makes that process.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a business owner who does real estate photography, it has actually saved my schedule so many times, because now getting a twilight shot is a little different. So for the higher end properties, I always insist, okay, let me go back with the lights glowing after it's a bit dark and get that shot. But the majority of my stuff is just mid-range, real estate work. And I don't want to have to make multiple trips or go out there late at night, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
But if it's raining, if it's sunny, if it's whatever the weather is, it doesn't even matter anymore, because I can take my exterior shots and I can do a sky replacement if the sky isn't cool looking, and it looks really, really nice. Now there's an art to picking the right sky and blending it right, and sizing it right, and all that stuff. And I've worked really hard to hopefully make it look as natural as possible. But man, I can just work around client schedules so much easier now that I do tons of sky replacements.
Nice.
It's great.
And, it's not all the time, but I'd say about 30% of the exterior shoots that I do, I end up doing some type of replacement to just make it a little more appealing.
Yeah, and it's like those. I mean, real estate shots are, in a way, kind of here today and gone tomorrow. It's for the purpose of selling the house. It's not necessarily something you're trying to win awards from. I mean, there might be an occasional wow moment where you're like, this is incredible, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with just, it's all about getting that out quickly too, I'm sure,
Yeah, you just want to get people in the door.
Yeah. They don't care that this guy was replaced. It's awesome.
Yeah. Good. All right. we said we're going to talk a little bit about Iceland. I never actually said this to you guys. What I thought was that we could share some tips for David Carr about Iceland, because it'll be his first time.
Yeah.
And my tip is actually bring all your clothes, because there's nothing worse than being in some epic landscape location but being miserable because of the wind.
Yeah.
Or just the general conditions. And oftentimes in a lot of those places, there are some epic photos to be had, but it can be pretty windy, maybe a little bit of sideways rain. And if you're comfortable, you're much more, I don't feel like I'm telling you something you don't know, but
no, I'm telling you that actually means a lot, because even just going to South Dakota 2 months ago, I was prepared for heat. So I packed all these shorts, and I even packed like sleeveless t-shirts and stuff. And I was freezing most of the time. Like, we were just in these climates that were like, it would be hot in the day and it'd be cold at night. And I was miserable. I had like one long sleeve shirt. And so I was like, never again. I'm going to be prepared for anything, because you just never know. So
can we go back to the fact that you brought sleeveless t-shirts?
I wasn't going to wear them.
He's from Georgia. He's from Georgia. Cut him some slack.
You got bigger problems than being chilly in South Dakota, man.
Well, I wasn't planning on wearing those like out while we were instructing, but we had some downtime at the campsite, and I was like, we're going to be burning up. It's going to be, out in the West. And I didn't wear one of those.
Twisted Sister concert shirt from 1987 on.
Well, I don't like the expression wife beater, and so I just say sleeveless. But I think we're getting around to this. Yeah, there wasn't like a Joe Dirt level. It wasn't Joe Dirt. It wasn't a Eastbound and Down kind of sleeveless shirts.
Well, to Toby's point about Iceland, because this actually, I was thinking about this. It would be my 4th visit there, which it never gets old, man. I've said this so many times. It is still my favorite place to go as a photographer. I love that country so much. I love the people. I love the landscape. I could just spend months and months and months up there. But yeah, leave the wife beaters at home.
I hate that expression.
No, I know.
I know. It's just, we all know it. Well, it sounds like Pam doesn't know what that means, but
I'm sure she probably does. It's a terrible sentence.
It is.
Terrible term, but and it's been used for far too many years and far too common and casually. So I don't mean to do that on the show, but it was good for a laugh.
Yeah. No, I will not be bringing those with me to Iceland.
Yeah, dress like Toby says, dress like an onion there. I'm trying to think I don't know. I think Iceland to me is one of those places. It sounds strange to say it because you go for photography and you have a really good time and everything, but there's a lot of bus time. Some of my favorite memories of visiting that country are sitting on the bus and just staring at the window for hours. Because sometimes, it may be a couple hours at least before you take some pictures in another place. But the first time we went, my wife had she hadn't been on vacation in a long time. She'd been working really, really hard and literally burning the candle at both ends. And we got on the bus and she would just take a nap.
Okay.
I couldn't. I was just looking out the bus, and I still do this every time I go back. That's one of my favorite things to do. It's because everything you see there is like Disneyland or something. It's just one little waterfall off the side of the road would be a whole national park here in the States, but it's a tiny, insignificant part of that land up there. It's
amazing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. I mean, and I definitely have learned on the previous trips that, and we tell the clients all the time, like, yes, take pictures. You're here to take pictures, but you're also here to enjoy this. Like, take in with your own 2 eyes, put the camera down for a moment and enjoy where you are. Cause you don't want to just come away with photos. You want to come away with like, you actually saw it with your own 2 eyes. So everything I've heard about Iceland speaks to that. And so I'm excited about, yes, getting photos, but also really just being there and seeing this, what sounds like incredible place.
Yeah, and you got to have a lot of lens cloths on you, or maybe even a small microfiber towel.
Okay, yeah.
Because mist from the waterfalls and the weather and all that stuff. I just feel like I'm constantly kind of wiping down my gear.
Yeah.
there.
Okay. That's good to know.
And I'm so excited that you got added onto this trip. I can't wait to experience it with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just stoked about it and really excited to be traveling internationally. You know.
Yeah.
We were talking,
I think Roy's,
the three of us have never been on a tour together.
No, we haven't. No, we've not. So
no,
it's fun.
Roy, I think is a great tip. I think, I talk about this fairly often, but it bears repeating. A telephoto lens for landscapes is awesome. And in Iceland, there are times where you get to walk right up to a waterfall, but then there are other times where these epic mountain peaks and these glacier bits and the icebergs in the water are further away. And getting a telephoto that allows you to really kind of crop in and get tight in on your subject is a great suggestion as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I plan on bringing probably not all of my glass, but probably most of it, just because I don't know what I'm going to see, and sometimes even if you're not specifically in a place just for wildlife, you never know if you might see it, or like zooming in on, a piece of the landscape is oftentimes I end up liking those shots better than the super wide shots, where I'm trying to capture everything. So that's a good suggestion though. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start to wrap up. We have a quick question from Roger. What would we consider to be the best current power zoom bridge camera with at least 40x zoom on the market? He says this is just in case he doesn't go mirrorless and decides to ditch the DSLR. And I'll say this, Roger, don't do it. You're going to be disappointed. You are taking epic bird photos. You are pixel peeping these bird photos. And if you move down to a sensor that is dramatically smaller, and all of these power zooms have a dramatically smaller sensor than APS-C, I think you're going to be disappointed. That said, the best of them is the Sony CyberShot. This guy.
I'll tell you what you should get.
What should he get? What are you going to tell us, Steve?
You forgot to mention this earlier.
Oh, wow. It happened.
That's the other direction, but that is a beautiful direction.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I totally forgot to bring that up.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
You kind of teased that on the thing. I'm all mirrorless now.
That's awesome.
So, welcome to the future.
That day finally came. And just for those that are left in the chat room, I basically got rid of a lot of my Canon gear and picked that guy up. Basically just lenses that I wasn't using. And I should clarify, it's actually Renee's camera gear for those of you that know the Hasselblad story. I pitched it to her. She's standing outside the door. I guess dinner's ready. And
yeah, we got to wrap up.
The way I see it, I get a new camera now. So
great.
All right. Order it up.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man. I can't wait to.
Well, that's Iceland for you, man.
Yeah.
I got excited about it. It's time to just go all mirrorless, and I don't want to come away from that country without the best photos possible.
Yeah.
But to Toby's point, to Roger, I didn't mean to go off on that whole rabbit trail, but don't sacrifice for the types of shots that you're taking.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, if you want a travel-friendly camera and you're not going to be doing the bird photography as much and pixel peeping as much, then one of these bridge cameras is going to be fine. But seeing where you are now, what you're shooting with now, I don't think you're going to be happy in that direction. Yep. Okay. Hey, the show went long. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for hanging out with me this afternoon. Really appreciate it. You can follow David Carr at David Carr Photo on Instagram and see what he's up to, including they're still up there because it started last night. So you got like 12 more hours to see his magic tricks, but also his fantastic photography, including branching in a little bit into interior and real estate. Those shots were so crispy, so nice.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll try to continue the magic in the photos or in actual sleight of hand.
Well said. All right. And that hairy guy over there with just an absolute mane, that's Steve Scurich. You can follow him at
man bun in Iceland, fellas.
It's going to look good.
How
there you go.
My hair.
I'm totally fine hanging out with you and your man bun, wearing your Fjall Raven. Oh, I got a new pair of Fjall Raven pants. I think you'll like them.
Well, yeah, you don't want to buy them up there, man. I purposely didn't buy some in order to go to the Fjall Raven store in Iceland a couple of years ago. And you walk in there and everything is like 50% more expensive than you can get it on Amazon. So
that doesn't seem right. It's closer to the mother country.
I know. It's just ridiculous, but that's exciting, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I did. In taking my advice to David, I did buy a nice jacket this morning that I'm very excited about that I'll be wearing in Iceland. All the important things, you know. Steve's got a camera. I've got a jacket. David Carr, you've got new, gun straps. So I've got something new.
Toby, don't forget to bring your what's the hat that I got you? The Prado one.
Tree hugger, my tree hugger.
Yeah, don't forget to bring your tree hugger hat, and we've got to figure out a good one for David Carr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need a hat. I need a hat to cover up this bald spot. So
my hats don't fit me anymore.
I bet they don't.
I can't get them on.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, and everybody watching. No show next week because there's actually construction happening at the house on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Plus, it's very close to leaving for Iceland, so I'll be working on getting some other videos out, including just some other videos. And then we're off in Iceland for a couple weeks, and then we'll be back. And I think when I get back, I have a guest lined up. She is a professional photographer working for Getty, and she spent the entire Olympics in Tokyo shooting the Olympics. So I'm really excited
that's amazing.
to pick her brain about some of that stuff. So look forward to that.
I just got to call out Chris because she got on late. But you were just talking about your jacket for Iceland, and she says, Toby, you bought another jacket.
Look, lady, I buy whatever I want.
That is so good because that is so Renee.
Yeah. This is how they find out.
Totally my wife. Like, you bought another pair of hiking shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Chris, funny. She says she's going to ask me to get rid of a jacket when he gets a new one. Yes, I actually have. I have a plan on Thursday morning. I'm going to go to everybody knows, our couples right now. Thursday morning, I'm going to go to the gear exchange store and put in a couple of things for consignment.
There you go.
So, yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Nice. Show's gone way too long. Steve needs to go eat dinner. David Carr needs to go practice some more magic tricks. Yeah, right, we got to wrap up. Everybody watching, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. It's a really nice way to thank us for our time. And go follow these guys. They're linked right down below this video. It's a nice way to thank them for their time. We will see you again when we see you. Bye-bye.
Take care.